92% of us have stopped working on our New Year's resolutions. And by the end of this video, I'm going to share with you 3 problems and 1 key shift that we can have internally to be able to sustain positive changes. And if you stick around till the end, you'll actually have that key of how to shift that. And in the description of this video, there's a free how to start your next semester strong. So if you're a college student, go ahead and check that out. So let's go ahead and listen to the first and the most important idea.
Impact is a result of small and wise habits. Anytime you do something that's significant, it's always a result of small and wise habits that compound over time. In fact, what do we know about most successful people? Are you ready for this? Most successful leaders, they are not great at everything. They never are. In fact, they're not great at most things. What do we know? We know that generally the best leaders, they're highly disciplined. They're fanatically consistent in a few specific leadership habits. They have a few things they do consistently well over time, and that makes the difference.
And so for us, especially as college students and young adults, it's really important to ask, what are those important areas? I know one of the things that I'm doing is I'm choosing to do a small amount of schoolwork every single day in each one of my classes. And that's something that I'm growing in, that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've never actually done. So thinking about that in our context, how do we make that relevant and doing these small things that really make a difference? And then the other thing that he's about to talk about is this idea of having great intentions without follow through.
Here's resolutions right now because you want to get better. That's good news. The bad news is that 92% of them won't last. Sorry to break it to you. So many people, we've got really good intentions right now, but the follow through is often way less than we want it to be. We're going to try to solve that problem and change our trajectory today with this content. What do you want to change in your life?
We're about 2 weeks into this first semester. We're about a month and 8 days into our first in this year. And it's asking ourselves, okay, I had goals at the beginning of this year, or I had resolutions. Where am I now? And not making ourselves wrong or bad for either doing well or not doing well, because 92% of us don't do this well. And so few of us actually make it into February or into March. So it's not a matter of if we haven't done it well, but how can we shift what we are currently doing so that we can grow? In fact, I'm going to tell you a story. I was at the grocery store this last week, and this is going to matter if you stick around till the end of this video. This story will actually tie into a key concept. But I was hungry and I was buying food, and I realized, man, I really want to get pizza. Now, the reason why that mattered was because I went, wait, that's not who I am. I was battling this for about 10 minutes, but then what happened was I had this thought of, wait, I'm a healthy person. That's who I am. That's a part of my identity. And as a healthy person, I don't choose to eat that way. And I also didn't really want to spend the extra money, even though the pizza was on sale. But that shift from should I or should I not to who am I, and out of who I am, what am I going to choose, that made all the difference. So that's something that I want you to focus on and think about, is who is the person that we want to be, and from who we want to be, then we will have the actions and take the action that we want to take.
When you don't see progress fast enough, you make a wrong conclusion. And what is your wrong conclusion? You wrongly conclude that small, wise decisions don't matter that much. These little habits that I'm trying to do, they're just not big enough. They're not effective. These small, wise decisions don't matter that much. And that's your first wrong conclusion. The opposite is true as well. When we do the wrong things, when we have the bad habits, our lives or our ministries or our businesses, they don't usually self-destruct that week. There can be a team member that's always late to work, and you don't correct that team member. Why? Because that team member's tardiness doesn't poison the culture immediately. Nothing falls apart because they were late 3 times in a row. Or you may run a bad, boring, and ineffective meeting.
This can matter for us, especially as college students or young adults, of asking, like, how are we growing if we're in a team or in a group in some capacity? Am I being a consistent contributor to that group? Am I being consistent in sharing and being actually present in the class so that I can bring value to my team at work? Am I showing up on time for the things with, like, that's something that I'm working on right now, is realizing, hey, I'm not always as on time as I can be. And so what are the things that I need to do mentally to change how I see myself, so that way that's a part of my identity, that's a part of who I am? Because I notice in certain areas I do it really well, and then there are other places where I don't. And so that's an area that I'm growing in right now. And we can do this in all areas of our life, of our faith, our foundation, our finances, our relationships, and our health, and ask, what are the small things either that I am doing or that I'm not doing? Because see, when we come to that wrong conclusion and we think, oh, this, if I don't study God's word, if I don't put good things into my mind, it doesn't matter that much for one day. That's a wrong conclusion, because that one thing over time compounds. And so if we can make that switch and we can put something good into our minds on a consistent basis, it has a exponential effect over time. This really also kind of hits with the next point, which is that our negative self-perceptions can sabotage our success. And Craig actually shares a little bit more about this.
That our negative self-perception sabotages our success. You'll see this in your own leadership. Our negative self-perception sabotages our success. And the reality is, all of us as leaders, we have insecurities. You do, I do. The person that you look up to and think is totally confident, she has insecurities as well. You might say in your own leadership insecurity, you might think, okay, I'm not good at recognizing talent, or I'm never good at confronting anybody, or I stink at handling money, so let's just go shopping, whatever. Here's what we need to understand. An unhealthy identity creates unwise habits.
Yes.
And unwise habits reinforce that unhealthy identity. Let me say it again, because this is so important. Anytime you have an unhealthy identity, that tends to create unwise habits. And those unwise habits reinforce that unhealthy identity.
And so this was exactly what I was talking about earlier with the pizza example, and how this all ties together, is because I see myself as someone who is healthy, someone who does care about taking care of my health to the best of my ability. And that's not just eating, that's sleeping, that's exercising, that's drinking enough water, as well as eating well. And so those are kind of the four components, if you will, of being healthy. Being willing to see ourselves in a healthy way, that makes all the difference, because healthy identity then drives healthy behavior. And so it can be this positive loop or a negative loop, depending on which way it is. And it's a constant battle in our minds as well, to continuously dwell on what is good and to reshift into that healthy identity. So it's not like do it one time and it's done. It's a continuous process. Who do we want to become as a leader? And in just a moment, Craig's going to talk about the 3 I am statements. And so I want you to think about, who is it that you want to be, and what are the statements that you want to put into your life right now that it's going to set you up for the next 10 years or even the next 12 months? Because even if you haven't done everything that you wanted to do in the first month, you still have 11 more months to go. So let's not throw it away just because it hasn't happened yet.
Leaders, you see yourself as a leader with integrity. That healthy identity creates positive habits, and the positive habits reinforce that healthy identity. So the question is this: who do you want to become as a leader? Your assignment is to answer that question, and I'm going to challenge you to create 3 leadership I am statements. I don't know what yours will be, but I want to challenge you to create 3 leadership I am statements. You may want to do this with your team as well. And your statement might be, one of them might be, I'm a leader who trusts, empowers, and creates leaders. That's a great I am statement.
So for me, the statements that I've written down and I have here is that I'm a decisive leader. I choose what I want most over what I want now. And I'm a focused leader. And I'm a whole person who is worthy of receiving love. And something else, if you're going, man, I don't see that as who I am, you can also add this small word, I am becoming a decisive leader. I am becoming a focused leader. Because simply by having that process, it tells your brain, hey, I'm in the process of becoming a healthy person. I'm in the process of becoming this. Especially if in this moment you're feeling down or you're feeling discouraged, there's this really important part that Craig hits.
Don't let what happened in your past rob you of becoming the leader that you can be in the future. If you had a failure or a shortcoming or someone told you never would be or whatever, don't let someone else's opinion limit you. I promise you. There is more in your leadership than you can imagine. There are gears inside your leadership you have not yet shifted. There's more inside of you. And so this year, what I want you to do is think identity first. Identity before behavior, because identity drives behavior.
That's the big thing, is that identity drives behavior. And from who you are, then we want to think about what's one habit that we want to create, or that we wanted to create back in January, and how can we implement it now? Because just because it's not a new year right now doesn't mean we can't make changes that are sustainable. And that's why I wanted to revisit this video and this topic, is because habits are something that we develop every single month, every single year. And this can be the first day of your new year if you choose to view it that way. So based on on who you want to be, what's one habit that you want to start? And so I would encourage you, if you've watched till this point in the video and you're actually going to do this, put it in the comments who you want to be and what's that one habit, as well as if you can give this video a like, as well as subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to keep reviewing these podcasts and breaking them down into how can we apply them as young adults and college students. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Adios.